Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to today's video. I am technically filming on New Year's Eve. So I am still in 2021. We are now in 2022. I don't know exactly when this is going to upload, but I know it's gonna be my first video of the new year. So hello, welcome. If you are new here, my name is Kelly and I love all things makeup and beauty. I love talking, I love makeup, I love talking about makeup. So if you like to chat about makeup too, I would love to have you subscribe and be part of the K-Bella fam. But today we are here to talk about and rank all of the palettes that I tried, the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2021. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay, so I do need to start with an honorable mention. It's a palette that I can't rank because I have not used it yet, but it was a Christmas gift. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Eye Palette. The Smoky Eyes Are Forever. And this was actually my Christmas gift from Smags. Beautiful palette here. And I haven't had a chance to try it yet. So I did get it in 2021. So I wanted to mention it, but I can't technically rank it yet and tell you my thoughts on it. So if you're interested in hearing a full review, seeing some looks, let me know. But I did get this in 2021, so I wanted to let you know, but we will not be ranking it today. Okay, so in 2021, I did try, this is funny, I never thought about it until now. I tried 21 palettes in 2021. Well, this technically I didn't try it, but I got 21 palettes in 2021, including this one right here. But in my rankings, we're gonna be going from 18 down to 1 because I figured for number 18, I need to talk about 3 eyeshadow palettes that I'm decluttering. Now, I'm not decluttering them because they're bad, but I filmed a declutter video as part of my 12 days of makeup, and I can link that right here if you want to know why I'm decluttering them. But the 3 palettes that are all together in the 18 category is the BH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin palette, the BH Cosmetics Sweet Shop palette, this one is in Sugar Cone, and then the Your Golden palette by Colourpop. I don't think any of these are bad. I just think they don't have a spot in my collection right now. And if I were to rank these 3 among themselves, the Colourpop Your Golden would come in last place. Then just simply because of the color story, I would have the BH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin. And on top of those 3, ooh, this almost fell out, would be the BH Cosmetics Sugar Cone palette. But because I am decluttering them, I thought that they needed to go in the number 18 spot. And like I said, if you want to hear more about why I'm decluttering them, check out that declutter video. But now we are going to work from 17 down to 1. I do want to say, if you're new here, I am a neutral lover, so most of these are neutral palettes, and a lot of these you'll see are ranked based just on personal preference. So for number 17 is the Jouer French Riviera palette. Now this was my first hand at trying Jouer Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes, and I don't think this palette is bad. Honestly, this green, this blue caught my eye, this olive down here. This blue is a little bit more of an iridescent topper. This green does have some pigment to it, but it doesn't really pack a punch. And honestly, since trying out this palette, I haven't found myself reaching for it. It's not one that I'm constantly grabbing or wanting to use, and I don't know how long it will stay in my collection. It was definitely the color story that caught my eye. I thought that it was a super fun color story, but when it comes to the palette itself, I didn't really love the quality. So that's why it rings in at the number 17 spot. Number 16, this is a palette that I've talked about a couple times on my channel, and it is the GlamLite Ice Cream Dream palette. This is the only GlamLite eyeshadow palette that I had, and I got this for a specific reason, because I do have a ton of neutral shades in my collection, but I wanted a palette that had a little bit more color and that had more pastel pops, so that when I want to play with color, I have the option to do so. But I found that I don't love the GlamLite formula. I thought the mattes were fine, they were blendable. It was the shimmers that I wasn't in love with. I feel like you really, if you're trying to use a brush, you really have to dig a brush in there. Your finger is the best way. I normally have nails on. I took them off over the holiday break, but I don't love applying eyeshadow with my fingers, and these shimmer shades remind me of the Colourpop Super Shock shadows, and I don't love those. So this isn't my favorite palette. I'm not in love with the GlamLite quality, but I'm going to keep it because it is a nice, fun, colorful palette. But I do think that you should take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I know there are a ton of people who love the GlamLite formula, who love the Ice Cream Dream palette, and who think it's great. But this one just, it's not a favorite, but I'm gonna keep it. Coming in at the number 15 spot is the collaboration between Ofra Cosmetics and Samantha March. This was her like round 2 collab with them, and this was the Life's a Draft palette. So this is an eyeshadow palette and a face palette. This was my first time trying out the Ofra Cosmetics eyeshadow formula. Now I do want to say, I'm going to keep this palette. I think it's good. It's not the best quality ever. I do really like the Ofra face shades, so I really enjoyed the bronzer, blush, and highlighter, but I feel like the eyeshadows are just subpar. With this color formula, I felt like I got the same eye look no matter what combinations I used. I didn't think that it like performed poorly or anything, but it just didn't like pack a punch the way that I like my lid shades or my eyeshadow to do so. So I'm gonna keep it in my collection because I like Samantha. I've known her for a really, really long time on YouTube, and I really wanted to support her, and I think the face shades are great. I just don't think that the Ofra eyeshadow quality is my favorite. Coming in at the number 14 spot is the Vive Cosmetics The Essential palette. Now this was the first eyeshadow palette that Vive Cosmetics came out with, and so Jamie Genevieve, the creator, the CEO of Vive Cosmetics, said that she wanted like an essential eyeshadow palette that you could kind of use, like that makeup artist could use, and you could kind of have a little bit of everything. This eyeshadow like color story is definitely right up my alley. I love neutrals. I feel like the mattes are super creamy and blendable. They worked well. I wasn't a huge fan of these 2 shimmer shades in Thea and Carrot. Now, if you watch Jamie's video, she said that she likes to apply those over like a glitter glue base. I don't have a glitter glue base. I don't like glitter. I don't like chunky shimmers, and that's what these 2 are. I think glimmer is fine, but I find that that's why I don't reach into this too much, is because I don't really wear all matte looks. I do wear a shimmer on the lid whenever I'm creating a look. So because I don't love these 2 shimmer formulas, this one's the only one that I really use out of the palette. I don't find myself reaching for it that often, but I am still happy to have this in my collection, and I think the color story is great. In the number 13 spot was a collaboration between Kaleidos and Angelica Nyqvist. It is the Club Nebula palette. Now, I had been hearing about Kaleidos. I wanted to try the brand out. I was waiting for the right moment, and this palette felt like the right moment for me because I do love Angie. I love her videos. I think that she is super talented, super creative, and I really wanted to try a little bit of color and have something a little bit different. Now, the reason why this is ranking lower on my ranking video, it's coming in at what, number 13, is simply because of color story. This is not an everyday go-to for me because I'm such a neutral lover. However, the quality is amazing. I love the looks that I create with this. I feel like these shimmer shades look amazing over like a deeper matte. It really makes them pop. I love the looks that I've created with this palette, and overall, I really do enjoy this eyeshadow palette. I'm super happy to have it in my collection, but just because it's not a color story that I reach for often, that is the only reason why it's ranking a little bit lower. You saw my BH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin palette getting decluttered, but it's definitely not because of the quality. Number 12 is the Avocado Toast by BH Cosmetics, the Weekend Vibes. Greens are more up my alley, more of my color story than blues. I tried the blues out. I didn't find myself reaching for them, but I can definitely work with the greens you have in here. There's this nice, like, fun aqua row down here. I created a look, and I got so many compliments on it. I don't find that this is like an everyday go-to for me because I do like more like neutral toned down looks, but when I do want to reach for a green, I think the quality is great and the price is right with BH Cosmetics. I want to say that these go on sale for like $17 or $18, but BH is always running sales. I mean, like, always running sales, and you can get these priced down for like 12 or 13 bucks, so I think it's worth it. So as we move down the rankings, the top few, like the Jouer, the GlamLite, the Ofra palette, those ones are kind of like my blah, like whatever. I could kind of go without them, but I have them. Now we're getting into, like, once we get into like the Vive and the Avocado Toast and Club Nebula, these are like the like category. I like these, but they're not absolute favorites. So coming in at the number 11 spot is the very first eyeshadow palette that I picked up in 2021. And it is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Rebel palette. Now I really, oh my gosh, it's so hard to open. I really like these greens. You have like 2 more green shades. This one's a bit more of a topper, but it's a little bit smokier, and a gold shade. I really like these 4 shadows. I think they work great on the lid, but you don't really have enough, in my opinion, to create a whole look. So although I really enjoy greens if I'm reaching for color, and I really, especially this one, I really like these top 2, the green and the gold. You can create some fun like smoky green looks, but because I can't create a whole cohesive look, like I just couldn't put this any higher. In the number 10 spot is by Huda Beauty. It is the Wild Jaguar palette. This one I thought was super fun. I've been wanting to try the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes. Now this shade in the middle is definitely more of a topper. I think it is the star of the show and the reason why a lot of people got this palette, but it is more of a topper. However, I really like that you can kind of go smoky here. You have a little touch of purple. You have a gold for $29. I think the price is right there. You get a smaller 9-pan palette with a mirror, and I think the quality is good. Is it the best? Is it great? No, but it's good and I like it. So that's why it's in the number 10 spot. Number 9 was my first Sigma palette, and it is the Sigma Ambiance palette. Now, when I first got this palette, I was kind of hoping that it would take over for my Modern Renaissance. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance is like my go-to, like when I don't know what palette to reach for or what look to create, that's what I go for. And I was hoping that this would take its place, but it didn't. I think it's nice. I like how the shadows are kind of grouped in quads to create looks, and I feel like that makes it easy if you are a beginner or you don't feel so confident in putting colors together like myself, then that's great. Some of these are shimmer toppers. Some of the shimmers are much more pigmented. The mattes are super creamy and blendable. I like it. I think it's a good palette, and I don't really have a reason why I don't reach for it more, but this is one where I kind of have to like tell myself to pull it out. I just don't find myself organically reaching for it. Coming in the number 8 spot is by Artist Couture. It is the Supreme Nudes. I wanted to love this more. Throughout the year, I heard a ton of people talking about it, raving about it, saying it was an amazing palette, and I don't think it's bad. The color story is definitely right up my alley. The mattes are super creamy and blendable. I'm just not in love with the shimmers. I feel like they're a little bit more toned down, a little bit more subtle, and they don't really pack a punch, and so that's why I don't think it's bad. I think it's good quality. I just feel like I want a little more like oomph when I'm trying to come up with a shimmer shade. Like I want a little bit more of a pop. And so I honestly I don't reach for this that often. I still like it. I'm glad it's in my collection. I definitely recommend it if you're a neutral lover or a beginner and you want a nice staple palette. It's just not like a top favorite for me. Coming in at number 7, these are still likes, but they're closer to the love category. We do have the NARS Climax palette. I initially was going to pass on this. I hadn't tried NARS eyeshadows before. I didn't really feel like looking at this that I necessarily needed it, and then I kept seeing the reviews. My friend Aileen from A Merch Beauty, she picked this up and raved about it. Jamie from Jamie Trini on Instagram, she picked it up, raved about it. Allie Glines raved about it in a video. So I got my hands on it, and I have to say the quality is amazing. I love it. I feel like the mattes are super creamy and blendable. The shimmers definitely pack a punch. I get minimal fallout, and I don't have to dig too hard into the shades. So I really do enjoy this palette, and that's really all I have to say about it. For the number 6 spot, we do have the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I really do enjoy this eyeshadow palette. I had wanted it for a really long time. When I heard that it was limited edition and that it was going out of stock and you weren't going to be able to get it anymore, I decided to jump on it during the Sephora VIB sale, and I do really love it. However, some things that I feel like could be done a little bit better is the fact that all of these golds pull a little bit more orange gold. There's no like champagne gold or yellow gold. I mean, even this one still pulls a little bit more orange. I really like these green shades up here. I really love the neutrals over here. I just wish with the amount of golds that we had that we had a little bit more of a range. Now I do find that I really like the, what is it, the cream to matte, the cream to powder formula. I do find that I really enjoy that. This palette is super pigmented, go in with a light hand, super creamy and blendable. I love the formula. The reason why it's not in the top is because I do have to kind of play with those shimmer shades a little bit, but I do still love this palette. So now we're in the top 5. These are my loves. These are the palettes that I tried this year that will definitely stay in my collection for a long time. The first being the Colourpop Limoncello palette. Now I do have to say the reason why this is in the top 5 is honestly mostly for nostalgia. My husband and I did go to the Amalfi Coast a couple years ago before I had my daughter, and so the packaging, very sturdy, very solid. You get a nice mirror, and I think the quality is good for Colourpop. This is really, really good quality, super blendable. But it's definitely more of the nostalgia why this is higher up. I do love the color story. You can create a ton of fun looks. You don't have a huge variety. You can either do a little bit more like orange neutral, you can get pretty yellow, you have a pop of blue in there. But I do really love this palette for the memories that I have and the packaging, and that's really why it's in the number 5 spot. Now, a palette that I have found that has become like my go-to, a staple if I'm getting ready for work, if I'm going on vacation, it is the Vive Cosmetics Amore and Amalfi palette. Now, I don't think you can get this any longer. And I don't know if it's because of the whole chillin' in Chicago thing that happened. A lot of people were saying that it was marketed as a brand new palette, but a lot of people said that it was the exact same color story as Chillin' in Chicago, but Chillin' in Chicago was on its way out and the Amore and Amalfi was on its way in. But the reason why I love this palette, first of all, the BH quality is great, the BH price point is great in my opinion, but the reason why I like this is because you have a row of browns, a row of rosies, a row of orange, and then a row of like mustardy yellows. Now, of course, you can mix and match, but I find these to be very easy if you just work in rows. You can create a nice cohesive look, you get a variety of neutrals, and I think the pigmentation is just really great. And again, me having been to the Amalfi Coast, I really love the artwork and the names and everything as well, so this has definitely become a staple for me. Now, this next palette, this is why I feel like you should take everybody's reviews with a grain of salt, because my friend Emily from Emily's Makeup Bag ranked this extremely low, but this is number 3 for me. Number 3. This is the Pat McGrath, what's it called? Celestial Odyssey Luxe Quad in Bronze Borealis. Now, I do have to say, this was my first time really purchasing and trying out Pat McGrath eyeshadows. I do know that this is the same price as her other quads, but that the actual pan sizes is a little bit smaller, and I know a lot of people were upset about that, but it's the color story for me. It is the color story for me. This matte shade, I just go in with a light hand, I blow it out, I pick a shimmer shade to go on the lid. This shade right here can go on the inner corner. I just create a nice, cohesive, quick and easy look, and I really like the formula. I think it's amazing. So for me, this comes in at the number 3 spot, but like I said, my friend Emily had it ranked a little bit lower, and she's tried a little bit more Pat McGrath. So take everything with a grain of salt, but I love this little quad. In the number 2 spot is another Vive Cosmetics. This is the Muse palette. Now, this one made it up higher for a couple reasons. The first being the color story. I'm very into, as you can see, the rosy tones. Those are my tones right now. Again, I think the quality of the mattes are great. I really find that there are some unique matte shades in here that are not replicated or duplicated in my collection. But another reason why I really liked this palette is because Jamie listened to her viewers, and a lot of people didn't like that you had to use a glitter glue with some of her shimmer shades. So all 3 of these shimmers right here are the same formula as the Glimmer, the shade that I did like, where you don't need to put any kind of like base or primer or glitter topper down to adhere to. They're not as chunky, they're much more smooth, and I really find that I love this palette and I reach for it a ton. You can probably guess, if you know my collection, what the number 1 spot is, but the funny thing about the number 1 is I anti-hauled it. I said I wasn't going to get it, and I did not purchase it myself. Smegs purchased it for me, but it's the Natasha Denona Retro Palette. At first when I saw this, I was like, you know what? I love Natasha Denona, but I'm not gonna get this. I don't really need like these deep dark shades. I don't really need the reds and the burgundies. Smegs picked it up and loved it, and she was like, try mine. I tried hers, I created some looks, and I absolutely love it. This is a palette where ever since I got it a few months ago, I have to be honest, a few months ago around my birthday, I have used it nonstop. If I just need a quick and easy look for work, if I'm just throwing on some makeup real fast, this is the palette that I'm reaching for over all of the other palettes. I find myself just in love with the color story, the ease, the pigmentation, the blendability. I'm a huge Natasha Denona fan, and this color story really does it for me. So that is why this is in the #1 spot. But that is going to do it for my very first video in 2022. We ranked all of my eyeshadow palettes from 18 down to 1 that I tried in 2021. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to know what eyeshadow palettes you tried in 2021. What were some of your standout favorites? Do we have like the same taste in makeup, or is it very different? I would love to know. I think these videos are super fun to watch. I really love watching people's like ranking videos and collection videos. I think they're great. So that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Make sure you're subscribed before you go. That way I can see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.